The Live with Kelly and Mark host was speaking about her family life with co-host and husband Mark Consuelos on the August 22nd episode of the ABC Morning Show. Kelly Ripa often shares stories of her family life on Live, which she co-hosts alongside her husband Mark. The couple are doting parents to 3 grown-up children and are known for their humorous tales about parenthood, both from the present day and when their kids were little. On Friday, August 22nd, Kelly and Mark were discussing their children's baby teeth when Kelly admitted she had kept all of their teeth from when they were younger. They then reminisced about the tooth fairy and how their oldest son, Michael, now 28, had a knack for benefiting financially from losing his teeth. As the eldest of their children, Michael was the first to experience the tooth fairy and quickly realized its rewards. "Do you remember when Michael realized he was getting money? He lost like 4 or 5 teeth in a week," Mark began. "Yes, I believe he was just extracting teeth," Kelly laughed. "Because, Michael's the first grandchild, the first kid to grow teeth, the first kid to lose teeth." She then sighed as the audience laughed. Along with Michael, Kelly and Mark are also parents to 24-year-old Lola and 22-year-old Joaquin. The couple raised their children in New York City, and while their kids have now all left the nest, they often come back to visit. Michael lives closest to his parents in Bushwick, Brooklyn. The other two are a little farther away. Lola splits her time between London and NYC, and Joaquin is based in Michigan, having graduated from college there earlier this year. All 3 of the couple's children have followed in their parents' footsteps in the entertainment industry. Michael is an actor, Lola is a singer, and Joaquin has also decided to pursue a career in theater. He took part in several school productions while at the University of Michigan, and previously revealed in his college magazine that he was inspired to take up acting after auditioning for roles in his brother's absence. Just last month, in July, Kelly and Mark appeared on Late Night with Seth Meyers, where they opened up about their children. When asked whether any of them watched Live, both replied, "No." Kelly added, "Our youngest is 22, and we asked him to come here tonight because he was visiting us. He lives in Michigan, and I said, 'Do you want to come see Seth tonight?' And he goes, 'No, I'll watch it on the show when it airs.' And I go, 'Oh, you're going to watch?' And he says, 'Well, I watch Seth.' So he's like, 'I'm not watching for you, I'm just naturally watching Seth.'" By the time Michael Consuelos was 6, the world had already taught him 2 important lessons. 1, every exchange has a price, and 2, nothing changes hands without someone smiling and pretending the whole thing was magic. Kelly and Mark noticed the glint early on, not just the peculiar way his son would examine a coin as if it were a small planet, but how his eyes tracked opportunities like a young scamp trained by cartoons to always be 5 minutes ahead of the punchline. "Do you remember when Michael realized he was getting money? He lost like 4 or 5 teeth in a week," Mark would later say on a talk show stage, softened by applause. "He was just extracting teeth," Kelly would add, laughing, recalling her wide-eyed, half-horrified, half-proud first encounter with the budding entrepreneur who somehow combined dentistry, capitalism, and the tooth fairy into one small, astonishing act. That line, extracting teeth, became a family legend, told and retold at dinner parties, on sets, and in interviews. It was funny and made for good copy, but it left out the why. Why a boy would start pulling his own teeth, and what it cost the family beyond a few toothless smiles and a stack of dollar bills. Because behind every family joke lies a string of quiet decisions and emotions that trace back to the moment a child realizes that money can appear if they perform the right ritual. Michael's childhood in Bushwick was an odd quilt of city grit and theatrical glower. Their apartment carried the measured chaos of 2 creative adults learning to be parents in a city that never rested. Mark's work kept him constantly moving, while Kelly's morning show demanded optimism that sometimes had to be manufactured between sips of coffee before
Michael,
dawn.
the eldest, Lola, the sentimental one who could sing a tune into a paper towel and make it sound golden, and Joaquin, the dreamer who fell headfirst into theater in Michigan, learned their lessons in living rooms and on sets. For the most part, their childhood felt like an ongoing rehearsal for whatever life asked them to do: perform, be kind, and never forget to look good on camera. Michael, however, had an extra spark. He was precise about small mechanics: how to make a paper boat, the perfect angle to throw a peanut so it bounced off a radiator, even the exact way the tooth fairy's money smelled after being folded under a pillow. He was meticulous about trade-offs, convenience, and leverage. When his first baby tooth wobbled, he surprised everyone by not screaming. Then he surprised them again by keeping a diary, a childish ledger of every tooth lost, the date, the amount received, and notes on the tooth fairy's generosity. The little notebook, with its uneven letters and earnest arithmetic, became a shrine to early capitalism. First tooth, $2. M. Generous. Second tooth, $3. Better. Third tooth, $5. Is the tooth fairy a billionaire? Kelly kept the ledger for years, later finding it between school photos and a plastic dinosaur that once lived on Michael's nightstand. It was both charming and slightly unnerving. The first time Michael pulled his own tooth, it wasn't greed, it was calculation. He pried gently, gauged the wobble, weighed the pain versus the payout, and when the tooth came free, his small muffled cry turned into a grin filled with pride and triumph. That week, the tooth fairy had been particularly generous. Michael's ledger noted, fourth tooth, $1.50, suspicious. By then, he had learned how the system worked. The tooth fairy's business could be scaled by efficiency. If one tooth equaled a couple of dollars, why not create a week where multiple teeth became available? He experimented, tested pressure points, mastered the exact twist, and turned it into play. "The tooth fairy will think I'm an angel if I make it quick," he once wrote. It's easy to laugh at the image: a boy in pajamas, face scrunched in the dim light of a Brooklyn apartment, but the reality was more tender than funny. The week of teeth had a backstory deeper than dollars. Michael had always been the kind of kid who felt responsible for the emotional temperature of a room. If someone was sad, he wanted to fix it. He'd seen how money could ease small adult anxieties, how a paid bill could bring a sigh of relief, and how his parents would exchange comfort after long days. So each coin earned wasn't hoarded. He used his small fortune to buy toys for friends, pencils for classmates, even slipped extra money under Lola's pillow when her own tooth yielded a smaller reward. "Fairy donation, for Team Lola," he wrote, adding a mint. His family celebrated his generosity more than his cleverness, but there was also something quieter beneath it: a hunger for validation. For a child of two media-savvy parents who thrived on applause, the clink of coins under his pillow was a kind of tactile approval, instant, measurable, and reassuring. The Tooth Week happened during a stretch when Kelly was traveling for a show segment, and Mark was filming late nights. The house felt half empty, laughter paused mid-scene. Michael, sensing the gap, decided, consciously or not, to turn the week into a story, a small act of independence. The first night, he gave a gentle tug, $2. The second night, he bit softly, coaxing another tooth loose. The third night, success again. The ledger grew. He hummed while wiping away small spots of blood. Then he tried a playground trick, a string tied to a doorknob. He discovered that leverage was real, even for a 6-year-old.